I'll tell you, I'm terribly disappointed that they don't teach rendering and sketching anymore, particularly sketching, because Scott here can attest to that. You've gone into offices and showed them your sketches and how you can sketch, and they had a big influence on you getting the job.
Yeah.
Particularly being able to be in the front end of projects.
Yeah,
Which is a hard place to get into.
And Tony, who's in industrial design now,
Yeah.
out in California, she's not an industrial designer, she's a store designer, but he tells the story of being in Paris, designing a perfume stand for the store, and they had this conference all morning and had a lot of ideas but couldn't get them across. So when they took a lunch break and they went across town, he sat in the back of the cab, sketched up all these ideas, and when they met that afternoon, he says, "This is what you want."
Yep.
Just like that. What you can't do anymore.
No.
But you can sure show them some sexy pictures. But it is incredible, it's off the subject, how the computer and the cell phone has linked everything together. Because Tony, my other son, he'll come over here and set up shop right there. He's got a cell phone, he brings this thing over, and he goes at it all day long, comes in, has a cup of coffee, goes back, works all day. He's on the phone, conference call in Birmingham, and he does all his work right from there. And he's got a couple of guys sitting in his house taking care of his dogs, and they're working too. But all because of the cell phone and the computer.
Well, this brings what you're talking about here is your children. You've got 4 children. You got Scott's number 3, Bob's number 2,
Yeah.
and what's
Lindy.
number 4 is
Number 4 is Tony.
How did you influence their careers, pass on your abilities or talent to them? Did they just see it and
Scott would have to answer that question because they never consulted me. I don't think you ever did. And we went on a sabbatical, and when I came back, here he was in the College of Architecture. And for a while, nobody knew he belonged to me until they had a couple of juries, and they finally asked, "Who's that guy Oliver? Has he got some relation to a faculty member?" And then Tony took up residence there in industrial design, and subsequently graduated from subsequent. But I didn't know anything about it. They just went off and did it.
And it seems that the 2 youngest children, Tony and I, had the graphic interest. The 2 olders didn't. My older brother dabbled in some painting a little bit, but from an intuitive point of view, or maybe I think even the creative act of just making things up. Even when you're very young children, you make believe things. That translated then to designing things. And I think Tony and I had that kind of imagination. And Dad's modest about this, and he didn't pressure us to learn or do anything. But we absorbed what was around us. And in my case particularly, I was destroyed at an early age because Dad would get 2 or 3 architecture magazines in the mail every month. Architecture Plus, a magazine that's long been defunct, Architecture Record, AIA Journal. I'd see all these, buildings and renderings. And then, of course, Dad was doing a lot of rendering work with Cal Straub and his other colleagues for their practices, and famously for the Papago Freeway in those early days. So I'd watch him draw. So I learned perspective and pen and ink work when I was, in early high school. And when I was, when I was 13, I was doing pen and ink perspectives and things like that because I saw them in the magazines and what Dad did. And so I was, because of all that influence, basically a real tragic, brutalist modernist at an early age.
But we
Because that's
never
all we
sat
saw.
down and we sat down and discussed it.
Well, you would give me a few tips here and there, but it was not like, "Oh, Dad, show me everything you know," or you saying, "Son, you're going to be an architect." It just, I absorbed it through osmosis. And as as my father said, when we took this trip around the world, there was no TV. Teaching was correspondence courses, a lot of time to kill. So for me, I learned how to read well, because no distractions. And we always picked up dibujo books, drawing books, in all these different towns. And I would draw whatever I was seeing. And if we took a ferry boat across the channel or whatever, I decided I was interested in ships, and I would design ships and become a naval architect and whatnot. And so
some of these.
that was how I kind of recorded the trip and learned about documenting the physical world, which is what architecture is about. And so then it became a natural thing. But I could have grown up to be a naval architect, industrial designer.
Sure.
I would have been happy. And my little brother did industrial design and migrated into branding, which is kind of incorporating interior design, marketing, and the whole image. So he's kind of taken industrial design into a real spatial, practical sense.